I started my career in movies at Universal with a stock contract. I was Universal's Jimmy Dean, in a sense. It was Jimmy Dean time, you know. But after that, I did several more films at Universal and began being loaned out to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer for The Reluctant Debutante with Rex Harrison and so on and so forth. By the time I was getting to the 60s, there was a crisis in Hollywood. Television was taking over. There was a lot of nervousness about it. My contract ended at Universal in '61 after 7.5 years. First time in my career I was without a job. In the period before, foreign films were taking on things that were never being touched on in Hollywood, you know. I mean, sex scenes, for one thing, Fellini films, Bergman, and things like that. So here I was without a job, and one morning I got a phone call from Letizia Roman. I had known her and her father. Her father was a costume designer, and he was working here a great deal. And she said, "John, how would you like to go to Italy and do an art film?" I said, "Oh, wow, yeah, why?" She said, "I know all the people. They're friends of my father's. I will call you right back." She called back. She says, "Okay, it's set." I didn't know who Mario Bava was. Even after I made the film, I didn't quite know what his past work was. I started studying Italian. I spoke Italian. I'm of Italian ancestry. I mean, I spoke a little bit, but I started studying. Then I got the script, and I said, this isn't an art film. This was really what was called a giallo, but it was also brillante, funny, humorous, you know, takeoff type of thing. It wasn't a serious giallo, which is a murder mystery story. It was a send-up of a murder mystery story in a way. I guess I got an English translation of it, which is a strange thing sometimes. I've done other Italian films where what was translated into English, much of it had been left out of what it was said in Italian. And in another film, I found myself in a scene that I had no idea. What is this? What are we doing in this scene? What? We're the meat? We're eating, these are dead people we're going to be eating? I'm going to my hotel. I'm not in this scene. That happened in another movie. So I went to Italy. It was Dolce Vita time. I mean, war was now behind. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And you could live really rather well with like $20,000 a year for about that, something like that. $50,000 a year, you were a rich man. You know, the Italians were very, very sort of liberal or some kind or generous. You know, if there was a parking straight and you didn't quite make it into where you're supposed to park and parked outside, it's okay, you know, it's all right. It's going to be, you could have done that. It was a much smaller population at the time. Now it's, you know, I mean, the last time I was there was, I think, just last year. I was afraid to cross the street because, I mean, all these motorcycles and girls with 400, whatever, coming, when do I cross? There was an American community in Rome at that time. I remember sitting and talking to Jack Palance, who was living there for a little while. I remember I said, "Jack, you want to go jogging?" He said, "What are you talking about, jogging?" And Mark Damon, who actually I rented his apartment for a while. It was kind of fun, really. It was a different quality of life. Working was so different from the studio system. In a studio system, if you finished a day's work of, say, 5 or 6 pages, and if you finished 2 hours early, they had another scene on another set, you know, ready for you to do. In Italy, if you finished at 3, you finished at 3. Bava didn't speak any English. That I spoke a little Italian and understood, I got along pretty well. I did something one day, and he said, "Oh, do that, do that." Ma come? He said, "That's good. That's just like an Italian would do it, you know." He would treat me very, very nicely, and then all of a sudden, I would hear him say something, or he would get gruff with me on something. I thought, what's going wrong with this guy, you know? One day we were on the beach, and there was a mat. So I had done some judo, so I was waiting around, so I went and did a judo fall. And I heard him say, "Huh, He has to show everybody he knows judo, you know. And I thought, well, what is he what's bugging him? The film was over. The producer, he said, let's have a drink. So we was talking, and he said, you know, we Italian producers have a difficulty because nobody takes us seriously. Like, we didn't think we could ever get you to come here. But, you know, Letizia told us that you were in love with her and that if they hired her, I would follow. So I discovered why Bava was a little angry. I think he had a crush on her, and he thought I was like in between, blocking him from having some kind of thing going on with her. Bava, he was a very superstitious guy. You know, I mean, he really believed in, like, you didn't go under a ladder. And Letizia, occasionally, if we would be talking with someone, she'd go, shh, don't. He's a spy for the production. Is a spying on what? What are we doing? Are we doing something wrong here? You know, it was a sense of old world kind of almost evil eye quality going on. I remember her father and her mother, just before we would leave, they took us to dinner together. And her father said, when you get there, don't let anybody know what you think. I said, why? He says, you must never let people know what you're thinking. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to be more, you know, open, more friendly. But it was like a real Machiavellian kind of quality. I think AIP were doing a lot of films in Italy. So they bought The Girl Who Knew Too Much. And I'm not sure how much I saw of it. I only remember seeing the marquee on Hollywood Boulevard at the Hollywood Theater. Was it titled differently? I guess I was somewhat disappointed because I didn't quite get it, you know, and I don't think the public got it. I don't think it was a success in any way. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. I stayed on in Italy after that because I wanted to do more. I wanted to be working with, Antonioni. I met Fellini one day, but he didn't, wasn't interested in me for what he was doing. They were doing 400 films a year when Hollywood wasn't doing that many. But, many of them were funny kind of things, the Swashbucklers, the Hercules and stuff like that. And I guess I just didn't fit into them. Did one more job with Ingrid Thulin, a Swedish actress, called Agostino. The story was that she had a relationship with her son, that she took her clothes off in front of this child. The Vatican censored it, and it was put in a closet and never got shown. I left, came back, and I got busy here again, resuming my career. Doing television shows, I did one after another, and then suddenly things began getting better and better. These things develop in funny ways. The film was kind of given a kind of a buoyancy or life. I went to a fan convention, and kids were coming out from the Midwest, groups. A lot of people who began to know of Mario Bava that are horror or sci-fi fans, and they said, you worked with Mario Bava, and you know Luciano Fulci. Oh, wow. It was like, oh, man, it was the anointed. I'm glad all these things have got an additional life. It's getting to be shown to people who probably never saw it before. That seems to kind of, like prolong a memory of something rather than it disappearing.
Non vivo più, non voglio più l'amore, perché l'amore vuol dire amare solo te. Voglio soffrire tutti, odiare, dimenticare cosa sei stata per me.